So, thank you so much for having me here this morning. It really is my pleasure to be here and help just enrich your family life by teaching about meal planning. So, my goal today is to first inspire you, but then, secondly, to give you some really practical how to's for how to implement this habit and practice into your home. We are all very busy moms here, so hence meal planning for busy moms. Our everyday looks a little bit different. Our everyday will bring its joys and bring its challenges as we walk through this adventure of motherhood. You know, there are seasons that come and go. There are extracurriculars that come and go. There are holidays. There are birthdays. Some things we plan for, other things we can't plan for. There are things that happen that are just out of our control. And as you all know now, one of those very out of control circumstances happened to me right before Thanksgiving. It was the week before Thanksgiving. I slipped in rainwater and fell down 3 steps to my driveway on the concrete. And so this season has been very impacted by a significant injury. Within those 3 seconds it took to fall down 3 steps, I dislocated my left ankle and broke 3 bones. So it was pretty severe. It was early in the morning. So my children were still in bed. My husband was actually preparing to go on a work trip later that day. He was going to leave in like an hour or less to leave for several days. So he was in the shower getting ready. So I was all alone. I was planning to get a workout in, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. And by God's grace, the memory of the pain itself is pretty blurry, which is so kind of the Lord. I mean, that's probably why we keep having children. Some of those blurry memories of the pain. It was the same case with the ankle. I definitely remember it being agonizing, but thankfully a lot of that has blurred. What was really sharp, though, was my mind. You've probably experienced like maybe the pain of childbirth that can really sharpen your mind in the moment. And so I remember a lot of what I was thinking through as I assessed my injury and tried to figure out what to do next. I knew immediately that this was a broken ankle. Things were just not in the right places. And so that was an obvious one to me. I watch sports a lot with my husband, so you see those like horrible sports injuries, and I was just like staring down my injury like, okay, I don't see any bones, so it's okay. I don't see any blood, that's good. So I was kind of like coaching myself through that and thanking the Lord already. But I knew I needed help, and I knew that there was going to be a really different day than I had planned. So in a flash, of course, as a mom, there were lots of emotions, fear and guilt being at the top of the list. And I had to take a pause before deciding what to do so that I could recalibrate my emotions and approach this in a way that would honor the Lord. Pain has not been a stranger to me throughout my life, and the Lord has trained my heart to respond hopefully well. So a long time ago, I had memorized Philippians 4, and I am so grateful that a mentor came alongside me and helped me memorize these words, because my mind has been so trained by them that even in any and every circumstance, I know the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So because of this being so firmly rooted in my mind, I was able to ask God for help to get through the fear, to be brave, to be patient in the midst of the pain, knowing that I was going to have to endure a lot and things weren't going to move as quickly as I would hope, and that I needed to be uncomplaining. So with my emotions mostly stabilized, I was then able to think through next steps in my pain, I was like, should I drag myself back inside and like alert my husband, like drag myself up the stairs? And I was like, no, that's really dumb. Don't do that. I attempted a text message, but I was starting to shake and feel nauseous, which I was like, this is normal. You're in shock. Don't panic. But my like voice to text did not translate. So I just sent like, help. And then I was, still staring down my injury, and I thought I should probably not continue to look at it because it's making me feel worse. So I turned to my side, and by God's grace, my phone had fallen within reach. So I was like, okay, reality of the situation is I have 4 small children. They're going to need to get to school. I need to go to the ER. So I might as well just call 911 and get a ride. And then my husband can take care of the children, get them to school, and then meet me at the ER later. So I did that. Help was on the way. I called Rob after that. He was out of the shower. He came running. We were both immediately thankful that it was my ankle and not my head, because that would have been a very different situation. And then, the day from there, the doctors were able to reduce my dislocated ankle. I was scheduled for surgery a week later. I think I've got 2 plates and 11 screws, but I'm walking. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm slowly starting to get back into the swing of things. And suffice it to say, cooking has been a challenge. Meal planning has been an extreme challenge, too. Thanks to the help of our wonderful church who provided meals for us, I think 3 times a week, sometimes more. People would text me and bring things over, which was incredible. I had my mom and Rob's parents took the kids for the whole week after surgery. 4 small children, that is a lot, and they were so kind to do that for us. And they fed them and took care of them, and Rob just had to take care of me. We had the NABMO ladies bring over a wonderful basket, which was so sweet and uplifted my spirits so much. So now I am healed enough to be back in action, back to normal. And you know what? Not all of that was so bad, because my children in particular, definitely my husband, he is so happy to have me back. He was a rock star and shouldered so many of the responsibilities, but it was really hard. One of the sweet moments that came out of this, as we were eating a meal from someone else, my oldest son turns to me and he was like, "Mom, I really miss your cooking." And it was heart-melting, and also like, oh, like the Lord's bringing great things out of this injury, gratitude. And it just made me remember all over again what a blessing it is to provide for and care for my family, what a blessing it is to be able to walk. And I'm thankful that we're able to see the difference and then realize all over again how blessed we are to be able to care for our families. So before we get into all of those how-tos of meal planning, we're going to start with some inspiration. So why should we meal plan? The first point for you to write down is stay motivated by the benefits of meal planning. So many, many years ago, I was a student teacher in Irvine Unified, and I was observing my mentor teacher during my very first back-to-school night. My mentor teacher was extremely experienced. She taught freshmen all the way to AP seniors, and I was so excited to learn whatever pearls of wisdom she had and what I could glean from her that evening. So after she had introduced the class to the parents and had explained the curriculum and the plans, she said, "This year, there is one thing you can do to help your children be successful this year. The best way to support your kids." Well, that made my ears perk up. Well, what's the best way to support your kids? She then continued and said, "Eat as many meals as possible with your children." That's it. Try to sit down as a family and eat together. That's it? I thought that's the best way to support your kids. Well, my very wise mentor went on, and she briefly explained the 20 plus years of research. So she listed improved academic performance, improved family dynamics and communication, reduced risk of depression, reduced risk of substance abuse, obesity, and even reduced risk of teenage pregnancy. Well, my mind was blown. I had no idea that there had been such research conducted and shown. And I felt lots of gratitude in that moment for my parents. They had put forth a ton of effort my whole life to make family meals happen, even all the way through high school. And I was a huge beneficiary of their care for me and our whole family. And in that moment, I hadn't even realized what my parents had done for me. And to be sure, I did send a text message to my mom saying thank you later that night. Well, maybe that's not you today. Maybe you didn't have a family growing up that sat together to eat meals, but today you're interested. You see, oh, there are a lot of benefits to sitting together. But how do I actually make this happen? If I had to hazard a guess, you are quite busy and tired. And usually by about 4 to 5 p.m., that's the time you usually start to think about dinner. And it's traditionally a really tough time of the day. There might be baseball practice or dance class or a 2-year-old melting down, perhaps. You may stare blankly into your refrigerator, hoping that a miracle will appear. And then you end up ordering takeout. Maybe your husband travels a fair amount for work. As I mentioned, mine does. So wrestling 4 kids plus making a meal can be quite challenging sometimes. Maybe you're a single mama. Maybe you have to work close to meal times, and that makes things really hard because there simply isn't the time. Or maybe you've gone to the effort of cooking dinner, but nobody will eat anything. There's tons of conflict and chaos between the elbowing siblings, so now you feel discouraged. Well, regardless of your life or season, meal planning is a huge help to all of those maybes and will actually help you implement regular meal times as a family and reap all of those benefits that I listed, as well as reduce your own stress because you have a plan, help maintain healthy eating habits for all, and even save your family money by buying less food, throwing away less food, making less impulse buys, which are still fun to do on occasion. But for the very top motivator of all for me as a Christian woman is that meal planning is one very tangible way that I can love God and show God's love to my family. It is good work that counts for a lifetime and eternity to come. Many of you may have heard of the Proverbs 31 woman, a famous woman in the Bible. She, in Proverbs 31, verse 27, which you'll see up here on the screen in a moment, it says, "She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." So that's Proverbs 31, verse 27. So when I have that eternal mindset that God cares about the ways of my household, that he's pleased by my efforts born out of love, I can rely on him to give me the strength to push past all of those challenges, all of those maybes, and put in the hard work to love my family excellently. He sees the sacrifice of time and energy, and he reminds us and knows full well that love requires sacrifice. That's what he teaches us in his word. In John 15, verse 12 through 13, Jesus says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." Jesus laid down his life for us, the greatest sacrifice of all. And he calls us to follow his example and love by laying down our desires and comforts for others. This is another way that we imitate God's holiness as well. We show to our watching family and others that we want to love and obey God above all else. So this is wonderful news that through meal planning, we can imitate Jesus and trust that he will provide for our needs as we sacrifice to love others. So to summarize all of that, point number 2 is to imitate God's love through meal planning. And if you wanted to write down those verses again to look up later, it was Proverbs 31, verse 27, and John 15, 12 through 13. All right, so that's all the inspiration and motivation. Let's dive into the practicality of meal planning. What are how-tos? I have millions of points and subpoints here, so be ready with your pens. So number 3 is how-to with a colon, and then A would be develop an orderly system for the family calendar. So how-tos, how-to letter A, develop an orderly system for the family calendar. Because yes, you do need to know what's going on in your family life so that you can choose meals that will actually work for your schedule. There is no point in planning a dinner that will take you 2 hours of hands-on time when you know, oh, I've got swim lessons at this time, or I've got dance class at this other time I need to get to. So a family calendar would be a great communication tool between yourself and all of your family members. My kids, who are all starting to read, really appreciate it as well because they can see what is the plan for the day. Yes, I do also verbally state the plan multiple times throughout the day to them, but having the calendar reminds me. So I personally, how I do this is I have a wall calendar that is physically on the wall, and I like to color code. So I will color code for each child or for myself or for my husband, or like purple would be an all family activity. So that's another great visual. Again, I'm a teacher. I think writing things physically down helps you remember better. But I do also keep a shared Apple calendar because when I'm on the go, I don't have my wall calendar with me and I will forget whatever comes up and needs to be added to the calendar. So I will add that to the calendar. I share it with my husband. He far prefers the digitized version. So yes, it's a little bit repetitious, but again, like things don't as much slip through the cracks. I am writing it down, sharing it, communicating as much as possible. So this is really important because you need to have a good grip on your commitments and see what is realistic for meals rather than trying to do something that's so far out of your capability that you just give up. All right, so once you have a good grip on your family commitments and plans for the weeks, the next how-to would be to collate or collect meals that fit your family and your own personality. I would write these down as well, or maybe make a Pinterest board or have a cookbook, whatever it may be. I would collect together the meals you already make. I would ask your friends for favorites, look at blogs and cookbooks. This can be as simple as just writing things down on a piece of paper, typing a document. I like having a handwritten recipe book, which is a little bit extra, but I have found when I'm in the midst of cooking and I have my phone, there's like 10 million ads to scroll through, so that stresses me out. And then also there's like little hands that like to click the videos, or the phone will just somehow get lost. And then I'm like, what time? How long is this supposed to be in the oven? And anyway, so handwriting things down like actually reduces my stress in the moment of cooking. It's just one less thing. And if some pieces of food fall on my cookbook, it just gives it character. Okay. And I'll only write something down if I have made this recipe multiple times and it's at least mostly a hit. Again, I have a wide variety of people to appeal to in my home, so it doesn't have to be perfect for everyone, but as long as most people like it, then I will write it down and continue it again. And based on like personality, I tend to be more of like an adventurous cook. So I like to try new things and experience new ways of cooking. And again, that's taken a lot of time. I've been married for 15 years. We've had a lot of time to grow and learn in our different seasons of marriage and parenthood. But I like to try new things. It just makes it more fun for me in the kitchen. And sometimes it doesn't work out so well. And I'm like, so last week I made a sushi bake, which ended up being pretty delicious, but I added way too much rice seasoning to the sushi rice. So it was kind of like a vinegary aftertaste. Okay. I would say it's not a complete fail because for the most part, everybody liked it and everybody ate it. But now I know for next time to maybe cut that seasoning in half and I will make it much better next time. So we learn and grow from these experiences. It's never going to be a complete fail. And if it is, just throw frozen taquitos in the air fryer and call it a day. But I will also ask for meals for other people. One benefit to having a broken ankle, people bring you food that you've never tried before. And some things where like everyone's like, whoa, that was really good. So I will text that person and ask for the recipe so that I can then make it. So Tracy forever ago, when I had little baby newborn Caleb, who's now 8, brought me enchiladas. So I've been making your enchiladas for 8 years. And that's wonderful to have a community that can help you find recipes. And that's going to be one of your prompts today for your discussion questions, to be able to talk and share ideas and just develop the help that we all need to support our families. Okay, and we cannot forget our husbands. Mine actually really likes barbecuing, or he keeps getting these different fancy like smoke devices. I do not know how to use them, but he is happy to make large amounts of pork shoulder for me. So I will put this into the plan, and then I'm able to have I don't know, what is the Costco size of pork shoulder, like 20 pounds or something ridiculous. We'll use it for the meal that night, and then I'll portion it out, and I will into like meal-sized portions and freeze it, and then a week later pull out the baggie from the freezer, and then I have the meat all ready to go. So we can also think through what are ways that I can not take on this whole load by myself, but what if my husband likes doing particular things? How can I include him in the plan and make it work for our family? So here's a couple more tips, some subpoints for your subpoints, as you consider meals that will actually work for your family. So first, it's perfectly fine to be simple. You do not need to make a 5-course meal every night. If Taco Tuesday is the favorite in the family, then Tuesdays are forever planned for you. Always make tacos on Tuesdays. If pizza on Friday nights is your family favorite, then great. Fridays are pizza. You can think about for like sides. My kids tend to not love like tons of seasonings and cheeses and whatever that I would prefer to put on my broccoli. But they just want plain steamed broccoli with salt and pepper, and they're happy. And I've learned to accept this. So it's okay to be simple, or like on a Thursday night when I'm so busy because we have to make it to small group in time. Yes, I just chop up sliced raw apples and grapes and put that as their side for their chicken nuggets with ketchup, okay? So let's be realistic. It's okay to be simple, and you can still be healthy at the same time. You don't need to overburden yourself. Of course, it's fun because, again, I like to be adventurous. So it's fun to try different things, but also it's okay to be simple. Okay, next tip would be think about the season of life that your family is in. So this is where you consider how to start where you are. And just as a side note, family meals don't necessarily have to be dinner. They can be breakfast. So if Saturday morning family breakfast is your jam and toast, then great, do that. Just shoot for as many times as possible. So, like I've mentioned multiple times, I'm in a season of pretty small children. My husband travels a lot. That means we have some give and take with child-friendly meals. So we have 3 meals a day to provide plus snacks, right? Okay, so breakfast we have decided is going to be, in the busyness of getting ready for school, as simple as possible. So this is going to be like pre-made items. And I said I love to bake, right? So I will bake a lot of stuff ahead of time. So this week I made scones for them, which they're super excited about. It's a lot easier than you think. And so I will bake and have those things ready and prepared for them ahead of time, but then we'll also do bagels and cream cheese. We'll do yogurt, we'll do fruit, we'll do the things that are just easy and quick, and they feel like they have some kind of choice often in the mornings, which is helpful for them to make it a little bit more child-friendly. Okay, for lunch, again, I tend to be more child-friendly. So yes, sometimes I'll do the leftover soup from the dinner the night before, but they don't always love that. So I'll also provide easy things like hot dogs or chicken nuggets or taquitos or, sandwiches, things like that they really enjoy. With the simple sides, I totally take full advantage of the free school-provided lunches. So when the kids are like, "Can you please make me lunch?" I'm like, "Well, you have a free lunch at school, so you're going to eat that." And even during the summer, a lot of libraries will provide meals for kids. So we'll go do our library time and eat lunch there at the same time. It's fantastic. They don't give me food, but it's all right. I can eat the leftovers at home later. So those meals I specifically, purposely make easy because dinner, Rob and I have decided, is the time where we want to expand their palate, widen their horizons, help them try new and different things that might be difficult. So we're going into it expecting that there's probably going to be some pushback, but we're viewing it as an opportunity for growth. So we have a plan for how we're going to help guide them through dinner, and we've come up with a plan for discipline when there's bad attitudes and grumbling. And we'll give rewards too. So for a completed dinner, the kids get a reward of a small treat, and that is surprisingly motivating that they can have 10 M&Ms after dinner. And then we're also really careful to portion out the more challenging foods because our different kids have challenges with different things. So I'm talking I'm giving 10 black beans to my resistant 8-year-old. He can handle this. 3 pieces of lettuce for my 4-year-old who does not like green things. And then also being careful to also include things that I know they will not have a problem eating. And so, sorry, my thing keeps falling off. Right, so we're doing our best to be reasonable with them. We don't want to overburden them, but we're also going to push them a little bit to eat things that they don't fully appreciate. So they each have things that they love, but we want them to have a wide and varied diet. We want them to try things with happy hearts. That's really important to us as well. So it's not just about eating the actual food, it's about the attitude with which they eat the food. And then, of course, we have lots of family favorites we mix in. So we've got some easy nights, too. They love spaghetti carbonara, so that's a hit every time. I've almost got everybody loving Caesar salad. Again, I have a 4-year-old where it's the 3 pieces of lettuce, but we're getting there. And the more repetitious it is with some food, the more likely they are to eat it, and especially when they see siblings try it, then it helps. Peer pressure can be a good thing sometimes, too. But then we'll also have nights where we're going out to restaurants. And again, we're going to view that as an opportunity for growth. How do you behave when you're out in public? No, you cannot roll under the table, on the floor. Yes, you do need to sit down. No, you can't shout. So we're viewing meal times as an opportunity to help grow. And we're giving them the easy breakfast and lunch, and then focusing and concentrating on something. So that's been really helpful for our season of life. All right, so the third how-to for meal planning, or letter C, would be choose a consistent time to plan meals, make a shopping list, and go grocery shopping. So for me personally, my habit would be to do all of this on Sunday evenings after the kiddos have gone to bed. I will do my meal planning, and then I'm in the season of life where I order groceries on Walmart delivery, and then they deliver it to my refrigerator in the garage, and it's amazing. I do not even have to be there for this to occur. So on Sunday night, I will pull out my calendar, plot out what the week is going to look like, pick out meals that actually make sense for the days. I will write down a rough plan, like in my notes app, and then I work on ordering my groceries. I now have a magnetic whiteboard on my refrigerator that I then will write down the true plan because, again, my reading kiddos are very interested in knowing what the plan is. They like to be a part of the family life in that way. So they'll see what's going on with dinner time as well. It also takes away the millions of questions of, what are we eating for dinner? I just point them to the whiteboard. All right, so then I'll add all my groceries on the Walmart app. I will keep an ongoing grocery list throughout the week. So I attempt to make it a weekly order instead of like a multiple times a week order. Of course, stuff falls through the cracks, and sometimes that random like bake sale comes up at school or whatever. But for the most part, I try to do this once a week so that I'm saving my time and energy throughout the rest of the week. We do have Alexas littered throughout our home. So anyone can add things to the grocery list. Like when we run out of cream cheese, I highly encourage people to say, Alexa, add cream cheese to the shopping list. Sometimes my kids are silly and they'll add lollipops or whatever to the shopping list. Sometimes I will surprise them and buy it, and then they're like, what? Mom said yes. Yeah, and then I'll also keep like a separate ongoing Costco list because I do have to go in person to Costco. I did that yesterday. I was actually quite proud. I haven't been there in months, but I limped around and got all my things. And so like that would be a separate list I can add to from Alexa, and then I don't forget things. So I'm going to be keeping kind of like an ongoing inventory throughout the week as I run out of stuff. And then I'm also checking my fridge and freezer and pantry for things that, like I thought I had bay leaves, but I don't know, maybe I ran out. So I'll check it before I officially order. And yeah, so that's what's working for me right now. A lot of people, and honestly, I would too, prefer to pick out produce in person. But there's give and take with seasons, and that's one thing I've had to let go of in the here and now. So find what works for you as you evaluate what's going to work for your life. All right, so the fourth how-to is execute the plan with a flexible heart. Hopefully with a motivated mindset to show God's love to our families. You have a good grasp of your calendar. You've got a list of meals that work for you. You've got consistent planning and shopping. You can do this. Now, obviously, things come up, and that's when we say, God knows better than I do. Kids get sick, you get sick, baseball practice gets canceled, you break an ankle, whatever it may be, things are going to come up, and it's okay to change the plan as the Lord crafts your days. Sometimes I do end up pulling out that frozen meal or switching to an easier meal that happens to work for that day. Sometimes I do indeed text my husband with a plea to pick up food on the way home because we've had a very challenging homework time, whatever it may be. But for the most part, meal planning is actually going to help you be flexible because you have a fridge and pantry and freezer full of stuff that you've already planned out. So all the extra hard work has been completed in advance. You're able to be flexible and, okay, so Monday's meal didn't work. I'm going to switch to Friday's meal because we're going to try to switch Monday's meal to another part of the week, right? You can think through, it's okay to be flexible. Sometimes my children look at the whiteboard and they're like, but we're not eating XYZ. And I'm like, but see what happened today. We have to trust the Lord with his plan for our day and be flexible. And as I mentioned earlier, on those extra challenging days, sometimes it's like, all right, I got to push through. I got to make this meal that I said I was going to make tonight. And I look ahead to the future because I've planned out times where I know the day's going to be easier. I'm like, we're going out to dinner on Sunday night. We have family dinner on Sunday night at church. I'm not going to have to do any dishes after that either. So it's good to plan in those breaks, and then you can be like, okay, I know this is going to be really hard tonight. I can do it. I planned for it. I prepared for it. I've got a break coming. So just mentally coaching yourself through the challenges. All right, so here's some more tips for executing the plan. So one would be to get the kids involved. It helps my kids both in attitude and behavior during the cooking and mealtime to have particular jobs. So we like to garden. I can send them out to the garden to pick tomatoes for the salad or tangerines for lunch. They love doing that. Another way to get them interested in eating their food is to involve them in the meal planning process. So ask them, is there a meal this week that you would like to eat? Getting them thinking what are my requests? And then when you honor that request, they feel very loved too. Another big goal this year is with each of the 4 children, I've assigned them a different night of the week where they are going to be helping me with dinner. And no, they do not stand with me the entire time to help me with dinner. They just have to complete a task or 2 to help do the dinner, and then they can go off to play or sometimes I'll let them watch TV or, do other things while I'm cooking. So, and again, age appropriate. So my 10-year-old, who has been trained how to use a knife, can be chopping carrots and celery. My 8-year-old can stir marinara sauce. He can open a jar and put it into a pot and stir. I can have my 6-year-old make the bagged salad, right? She's perfectly capable of opening up a bag and dumping things together and mixing it all up. My 4-year-old loves to collect ingredients. So I'll say, please go get the salt. And sometimes she comes back with baking soda. So we have to, help her realize what the salt jar looks like. But getting them involved is a really helpful way to make them interested in eating and help with the attitude during the time because they're a part of the family experience. All right, another how-to, for how to do this well, would be try and prep ahead for meals so there's less cook time later. This helps with those afternoon meltdowns and the general feeling of exhaustion a mom may or may not feel after a full day. So one thing that I have loved doing for years now is I used to buy a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store and shred it up, and then I have shredded chicken to use for whatever meal I want. I've gotten to the point where I now will roast my own chicken and make my own chicken broth, which again, can be a little extra, but it is delicious and nutritious and way easier than you would anticipate. So meat in particular, if I have it already pre-cooked and ready to just throw into the enchiladas, saves so much time. Or if you have an onion that you're going to be chopping up, might as well chop up the whole thing and put the other half in the fridge. So try to think through what are ways that I can cut down on cooking time, How much can I prep ahead for future meals? All right, next would be use your freezer. I love to make double of something and freeze it for later. So for instance, anytime I go to the trouble of making meatballs, I will definitely make double and use half for that night and stick the other half in the freezer, and then I can use that whenever I want to. It's one of those easy meals I can throw in. I already mentioned I'll have my husband like smoke a large amount of meat, and I'll put that in freezer size portions. Baked goods are so easy to freeze. So if I'm going to the trouble of making muffins, I might as well double the batch and put most of it in the freezer, and then you just throw it in the microwave for like a minute or 30 seconds, and voila, you have a fresh muffin. So use your freezer. I use mine heavily. It helps me stay consistent with meal planning and actually making food at home. All right, and then last tip would be make cooking a joy. This can be a fun family time. I find that it really warms my heart when I have one kiddo setting the table, another one's getting water for the pot, another one's chopping up the veggies. This can be a really fun, enjoyable time. But it's also okay to spend some time to yourself in the kitchen and give yourself a little break, assuming your kids do not have meltdowns after you turn off the iPad, which there are seasons of life with toddlers, their brains just don't love the turn off time. And we try to make mealtime a happy time. So there have been times where like we can't watch TV before meals because then we're spending half the meal trying to calm down a temper tantrum. So you can be wise with that. We want to do what we can to make it an enjoyable experience, be a place we want to be. But other ways to enjoy cooking is I like to turn on music and I will dance in between stirring the marinara sauce. I will light a candle. I will use ingredients that just bring a smile to my face. So in a pretty spice jar or I don't know, I love pink salt. I think it's so pretty. So yes, I have like the giant Costco tub of Himalayan pink salt, and that's just what I use. Maybe it has better minerals. I am not sure, but it is pretty. So it just makes me happy. And when you're doing those little things to make something enjoyable, the whistle while you work mentality can come true. So I pray today could be a source of inspiration for you as you consider implementing meal planning into your daily family routine. And remember that showing God's love is our top priority, along with the other many benefits that will come from our hard but good work. So just as a little extra help, you'll find on your tables, I shared a few of my favorite family recipes, as well as an actual weekly plan that I did last week. So with the activities that I'm like, okay, I have to plan those things in mind. Here's the meal I'm going to do as a result of what life actually looks like for that day. So I hope you enjoy your discussion and have a wonderful time of fellowship. Thank you.